Welcome to the Landy Peek podcast. I'm your host and friend, Landy Peek, and I am thrilled to have you join me. In each episode, we will explore what makes life truly fulfilling: happiness, deep connections, and self-discovery. Together, we'll uncover that happiness is not a destination, but a way of living. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, friends. This is Landy Peek, and welcome back to another episode of the Me in the Middle series, where we dive into the beautifully messy, transformative spaces of life, finding balance in this midlife age. You know that stage where you're juggling careers, family, personal growth, and wondering, where do I fit into all of this? We've got a special guest who truly gets it, Katie Hedges. Katie has a knack for turning life's curveballs into powerful lessons, offering wisdom, clarity, and a fresh perspective on what it means to thrive in the middle of all of it. She's here to share practical advice, heartfelt stories, and the kind of insights that will make you feel seen, heard, and maybe even a little lighter. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or just curious about what's next, Katie's words are sure to inspire. So find a cozy spot, grab your favorite drink, and settle in. And let's welcome Katie to the Landy Peek podcast. Katie, I am so thrilled you are here. Would you take just a moment to tell our listeners a little bit more about you and how you're kind of finding yourself in this me in the middle stage of life?
My name is Katie Hedges, and I'm a mom. I have an 11-year-old daughter. I never thought that I was going to have a kid. I'm sorry, she's talking to me right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a nail polish emergency.
Oh, I get that. I've got a 9-year-old.
Very important stuff.
You're
welcome.
Very much. Oh my gosh, I have to have this fixed right now. And I feel that very, very big with my 9-year-old.
Yeah. I like being a mom. I never thought I was going to be a mom. And I do work, and I work in a mental health institution, and I also have a private practice. And I have a very interesting sort of body work, sort of yoga, somatic experiencing, developmental somatic work that I do with people. And some people I can touch, some people I can't touch. Yeah, and I've been on my own healing journey for quite some time. I'm 47. I feel like I've done a lot of things with my life, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have somebody ask me questions that I get to answer.
Reverse, always asking the questions. So one of the things, as we first got on before we were recording, we were talking about this space in life that I think you and I are both in. And we have done a lot of our own healing journey. We are practitioners, and we've come to this space where we're no longer feeling that real push to work with clients. And I would love you to talk about that, because you said something that was completely aha in my brain. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. So tell me about that existence where you've done your healing and now here you are.
I feel like I had a part of myself. I'm an IFS practitioner, so I'll probably refer to the parts of myself. That a part of myself that felt really anxious about not being okay, or feeling broken, or not understanding what was wrong with me, what was wrong, and feeling like I had to fix something. And that somehow it started healing, and I stopped feeling so anxious about having to do something to myself or do something to someone else. And it was like kind of a parallel between feeling this responsibility for myself, like something was wrong with me that had to change, and maybe not being able to get to it inside of myself. So then feeling like I had to do it to somebody else. Like if I could help somebody else fix themselves, or if I could understand something about someone else or give them like some sort of cognitive information, then that would somehow be heal me or make me better. It wasn't even healing because it was in this mind frame of something being wrong with me and
Yeah.
fixing myself. And so that whole mind frame started to shift as things, as wounds started to heal. And those, that part of myself that felt like I had to do something or be something, that was the other thing too. Like I wanted more, um, letters behind my name, or I would feel really anxious about how much education I had, or and inadequate that I didn't have enough education, or I wanted to have this behind me to be almost like a better person or to feel better about myself. And it just didn't, and I would feel really anxious about it. Like I need more school, I need another training, I need to do something else. And it just doesn't feel that way anymore. It just kind of feels, things feel kind of okay. And if anything, I feel more overwhelmed by the way that, like our culture or our society has us like work a lot, or, which at least the situations I'm in right now can be really overwhelming, helping people in an institution or a residential treatment can be really overwhelming with all the stuff that goes on. And I don't, a lot of parts of me just don't feel okay with that anymore. Like I don't really want to be in it. I think those parts of me, like there's parts of me that have healed that were in that kind of lifestyle, or even from the traumas from when I was a teenager, like they were still in that trauma. Parts of me were still in the institution. And as they come out of the institution and those wounds are healed, I don't belong there anymore. I don't belong in that lifestyle, and it doesn't feel okay in my system.
Yeah, as you were sharing earlier, like it was that aha moment of as I have healed in myself and come to this space, I really don't feel that need and that push to go searching. And I was like you, where I
Yeah.
was a course junkie, looking for more and more, trying to fill this unmet need and thinking if I took this next course, if I got this next certification, I was finally going to feel, I'm not quite sure what, but I was going to feel something better. And it didn't
Yeah.
happen. I took that next thing and I still had the anxiety to take the next one and take the next one. And I wanted the next one. And I, like you, have come to this space where I just am not in that drive. I don't need to take the next one. I've actually reversed. I'm like now looking at my licensure going, oh no, I actually have to take something so that I can keep my licensure.
Uh,
I haven't taken anything all year. But it's not that I haven't done things. It's just that's not the focus.
yeah.
And I think there's
Yeah.
something so huge in the way that you said, like you're just at this space where you're no longer trying to, and I hadn't keyed into maybe I'm trying to fix me in a way by helping other people, by making, giving them that support and pouring me into that work life, that there was something that I was needing and something that I was trying to subconsciously fix and change. And when you highlighted that, I was like, that's huge.
Yeah. I think I didn't know how to do it for myself. And so then trying to do that to somebody else, almost like vicariously getting care or attention. But it's funny because it wouldn't even work out. And now that I don't care as much, now that I don't care as much, I've gotten like more calls from clients. People are more interested in seeing me. Maybe because I don't have like that anxiousness, or I'm not presenting with that anxiousness, or I'm not like, oh, come talk to me, or I'm probably just not putting that off, and I have maybe more security in myself. So, and then that ends up showing to people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's huge because I found similar where when I don't have that I want, I need, where are the clients, where can I do that driving, pushing energy? When I sat back, it's like there's a detachment and the energy shifts and it becomes an easier flow with clients when I'm not really looking in that same drive of clients. Yeah.
Yeah. They say and are you familiar with IFS?
I am. Yeah. So tell a little bit about IFS for the listeners.
I love internal family systems.
Uh-huh.
Um, it'll get called like parts work from people. Um, and it was developed. It's interesting because it's not really something that the guy in America, Dick Schwartz, who's like presented this in this like Western study through, like you can go to the trainings and get certified in it. It's like he'll even say it's not that he actually developed it. I mean, he noticed that people work this way, that people have multiple parts in their system, that they have parts of them that are protecting other parts that aren't working together, that we have this like inherent wholeness, like our actual self, and some people might call it your soul or your heart or your spirit. It kind of depends on what your belief system is, or what, if you're spiritual, how that kind of falls in for you. So we work this way. And when our parts are holding wounds, either from our traumas or they could be from our family's traumas, like they get passed down,
Mhm.
um, and they're carrying those things, we're not, we, the relationship with our authentic self is not there, and then we don't get to be ourselves. We're more our wounds than
Yeah.
we are ourselves, and it's like having a whole bunch of um kids that don't have a parent kind of running the show.
Right.
And it is used for, it's really gentle and it's really helpful for people who have had a lot of trauma, because all those like triggers that you feel, or the sensitivities or power dynamics, all of those things are the wounds of your parts. So it acknowledges those aspects of yourself, and it acknowledges those wounds, and it can help you heal those wounds, so your parts don't disappear and you get a better relationship with them, but the wounds that they're carrying, those feelings, those triggers, the physical sensations that are being held from something in the past, those are able to find some other way. Either maybe you're releasing them, or it's really individual on what happens. But that, and even matching that with like somatic experiencing, I was thinking about this today, where something like somatic experiencing, where you're noticing, what's going on with you, maybe in a hand gesture, or the way that your throat feels. I was like, oh, these are all parts of yourself, right? Like these are all parts that are coming up. And so the internal family systems is like, it takes that into consideration, and I feel like it's even a more gentle approach, because it's not like the practitioner is not pointing it out in the client, but they're maybe asking questions or getting curious, so then the client can discover it themselves, which I think is really important when you've had trauma. Because if somebody's overpowered you or told you what was
Mhm.
wrong with you, any kind of like control like that, there's usually, there's a part of you that comes up that can feel like defensive, protective, or shame. But when you start to get that relationship inside of with yourself and with your parts, and you're doing it with somebody else, it's very empowering. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And I love the curiosity about it, where we show some curiosity so that you can have self discovery. It is
Yeah.
very different than just a straight like talk therapy. Very
Yeah.
different. Than just for the listeners to understand, it is a very different approach, but it is looking at little segments of you, little parts of you in the whole and how it impacts the whole. And I think it's a non-judgmental way to really get curious about what's going on.
Yeah. It's neat. It makes a lot of sense to me. And at first it was like, when I first started working with a practitioner, I was like, okay, I'm interested in this, but don't like bring it up to me. I don't want you saying anything to me, anything about parts, anything. I was like, I'd been in mental institutions when I was younger. I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm crazy or that there's something, and she was so patient. She was so patient with me. She was so good at working with like dissociation. Um, and like when I would go through things like that, but never like poked at me, and I started to go on my own. Just yeah, like you're saying, like my own discovery. It's really empowering to start figuring out. 'Cause it's super overwhelming when you've had a lot of stuff going on for a long time and you don't know what it is, or it's too hard to look at, or yeah, it can be really overwhelming. Yeah, so you
Yeah,
get to do it like a little bit at a time at the pace that's going to work for you.
I
Yeah.
love that. And it is. And we do have to go at our own pace. And looking at those little pieces really does kind of make it from this big overwhelming thing to, oh, I can focus on just this. And I can focus on just this and be able to kind of start unlocking some of the puzzle pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved how before we got on, you had talked about you were feeling like you were so far behind in
Mm,
as you sat with your journey that you were like behind in learning, behind in, discovering all the different ways to help yourself heal, but you realized you weren't. So would you talk a
yeah.
little bit more about that shift in that aha of like, oh, wait, maybe I'm a little bit ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve?
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Because I did, and I think too, when in like 2020, not go, not going anywhere. I was going to school at the time, like not going out, right? We have all these lockdowns, but I was going to college and I was in my somatic experiencing training at the same time. And I'm like learning all this stuff about like my physiology, my brain, my body, and I'm I was feeling really ignorant. I felt like I was really behind. I thought everybody must already know this stuff. And maybe some of it is because when you listen to some people kind of in like the spiritual world, or even people that kind of get with like the science of meditation, and they'll give you these instructions on how to, I don't, achieve peace or whatever it is, like whatever, like achieve regulation or something. And they're like, well, you have to sit down and meditate and do these breathing exercises and journal. And it's like, you just you can't do it, right? It's
No,
like super hard. No, it's super hard to do.
super
I'm thinking
hard.
something's wrong with me because I can't sit down for 5 minutes, or I'm having some sort of um I get too anxious, or my mind is going, or I start having like flashbacks or somatic flashbacks, just like trying to sit in my body, like no capacity there to do it at all. And they're telling me to do this kind of stuff, and I'm feeling like you're telling somebody in a wheelchair to like run a marathon. And I'm like, I get it, maybe one day I'll be able to run this marathon, but like I got to get out of this, like, this wheelchair that I'm in first. Like I got to be able to get up and start walking and
Yeah.
taking like these smaller steps in order to get to this like larger thing, right? It's like bypassing.
Yeah.
People think that, or like even spiritual bypassing, like just go and do this thing, and you try to force to do it, but there's all these parts of yourself that aren't healed. So how are you supposed to sit and not think of anything when you have all these like wounds that are coming up when you're sitting there? And so I was starting to understand more about what was going on with my nervous system and how my brain develops, and anybody's brain develops based on experience and having like complex trauma. And then I was meeting other people, and I was realizing that they didn't understand either. Like other people didn't. I would go into groups of people, and nobody in there understood what like being trauma informed was. Like people are trying to touch me or hug me or just like kind of doing things that were giving orders to people, instead of giving options. And I it was a weird place to be, not understanding if was I being like too rigid? Was I being sort of overly cautious, overly sensitive? But then seeing that other people just didn't really understand um trauma themselves. They didn't understand their trauma, and they were getting the same information as me, kind of like to bypass what was going on with them, to muscle through and to just like, ooh, do it anyway, push through. And that is like a lot of the messages that we get, even from, like Western therapies and stuff, is to just like do something anyway, change your thinking. But I don't think that we really I don't think that we work that way, or that's like super helpful, right? It's not very gentle, right? It's
Right.
pretty like aggressive.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really turning away from what's going on internally. Let's shut that down and just kind of push
Yeah.
through to the greater directive of what we're should do, supposed to do, how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to behave, how we're supposed to act. But we're really ignoring all of the different signals that are going on inside our own bodies.
Yeah. 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 It took me a bit to everything goes a lot slower, and I've gotten a lot more out of saying no to things than I thought I would.
Yes.
Like I did, in my somatic experiencing training, we're in like the last year where you do all like this touch work. And I'd already been training with Stephen Farrell doing transforming touch, which is more for developmental trauma. So it's like backed up right to like younger parts.
Yeah.
And so I feel really good that I was doing the SE training and the work with Stephen Farrell at the same time, the transforming touch, because when I went in to do my last year, and they would give us directions on like, oh, okay, we're going to work on like the diaphragms in your body, and they're like touching people's stomachs, and they're touching people's throats, and
Mhm.
I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not okay doing this. I didn't even want to lay down. I was like, I'm not okay even laying down right now. And I feel really grateful for the woman I was working with, because she was from New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey. So I was like, okay, already I know. Okay, so she can handle some stuff. She's from New
Yeah.
Jersey. Then I found out she worked in a psych hospital. I was like, okay, good. I was like, this is
We're connected.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. Like,
We're
I'm
on the
not
same
gonna say
wavelength.
anything.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna like shake this woman up. And she totally listened to me. We didn't do anything that we were given instruction to do. It was like step by step where she was gonna touch me like on my terms. Um, and I don't even know. She, she just followed me and somehow ended up to like my back, and she was holding my back. And I'm somebody that used to identify with having chronic pain.
Mhm.
That's why I came to see you, was like
Yeah.
with some of the pain that I was holding in my body. And so she ended up like holding my back, And that support of her touch, and because we backed it up to something that I was okay with, I could there was parts of me that were renegotiating the tension in my body and how I was like bracing and holding myself and how I accepted support. Um, and there were some like images through my mind on where some of the bracing came from. And it was interesting because it was definitely a renegotiation. Like my body and my brain were like, what do I do? How do I do this? What do I do? How and then I could feel like this woman at her hands on me doing everything that I needed to do, but I had to figure out what I needed, and she was there to help me, and maybe to ask me some questions and stuff. But it was really backing it up to these like super small parts, and being able to that whole like override, like realizing that doing more, wanting more was overriding my system, and I wasn't going to be able to integrate that experience, right? It's like eating a super big meal. Like even if it's really healthy food, if you eat too much, it's like hard on your system,
Yeah.
right? Like it's hard to digest. So it was the same thing. Like more is not really better, even if it feels good at the
I
time.
Yeah, I love that analogy because I think we've all been there where we've eaten, even if it's healthy food, we've eaten too much and
Yeah.
you feel that discomfort. Your body system is just not what you want it to be. And that analogy of that's how things can be, where it might be good things coming to you, but that more is not better. That more can overweigh the system. And I
Yeah.
love that visual.
Yeah. Overwhelm is still overwhelm, right? Like it's
Yeah.
still, yeah, it doesn't, yeah, it's still overwhelm.
Mm-hmm. And the real key part that I've heard you kind of weave in is the going at your pace, having you be the guide and getting that support that you need, but it's going at your pace. It's the parts that are going at your pace. It's how in the somatic experiencing training, you were going at your pace. And I think one of the big aha things that our listeners can take away is that it's important and valuable to recognize what is your pace and what does overwhelm that system and how it is so important to be able to pace that. And that's
I
healthy.
think it's really hard. I think it's hard to find that out because like we've been over like the way that our culture is, we've been overwhelmed since like day one, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people born in hospitals. There's a lot of people that are like born into a room of people being like nervous or scared, or even if like somebody's pregnant and it's like, oh, the baby's gonna be late, like get it out, like everything like right away is like put on somebody else's like time limit, or like there's some urgency around it. Like we're made to go to school at time, even if somebody's not ready, like we don't have a lot of room, like women going back to work, like,
Mm-hmm.
if they go to work, like it's a lot, there's a lot of pressure from the outside. And I think that chronic, like pushing past your limits, being in chronic overwhelm, what makes you have to do a lot of self discovery and understanding your parts, your wounds, where they're coming from, in order to even see kind of what your limit is. And that's also like your capacity for things to change, like something that is really overwhelming today might not be in a year from now, but at least in my experience, I've had to really back it up, um, in order then to grow my capacity.
Same. Yes. But it does take a lot of awareness and boundaries to be able to back it up because you're 100%
Yeah.
right. I mean, from itty bitties, we are pushed, to when we're supposed to walk and sit. And, there's
Yeah.
that urgency around it. I have a friend who is going through a loss right now. And so there's a huge amount of grief. And it's interesting to hear, as she has taken time off of work to process, how there has been really, like, she took a week off. That seems a bit long. I'm like, oh my gosh, she just had a huge loss in her life. And you're saying a week off is long? But it is that push to just override. Okay, you need to process those feelings and move through and show back up at work. This is our society. We just push, ignore, shut it down, and push forward.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying and suggesting that we pull back and that we're aware of that overwhelm, because I think we put the blinders on and we're not even aware of how overwhelmed we are because it's just normal.
Yep. It's totally normal. Just drink some more coffee and keep
Oh,
going.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
People will say to me, I work 12-hour shifts. I work 3 12-hour shifts a week. And I don't drink coffee in the middle of the day. Um, or like at the end of the day. And at like 5 o'clock, people are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fucking tired, dude. Like, I'm tired. Like, I work in a mental health facility. I've had to other people's stuff coming at me all day. I
Right?
don't get to take care of myself. I'm trying to figure out authentically how to take care of myself during the day. So that's like something that's coming in. But it's like it's a lot, you know? And so like by 5 o'clock, like I'm tired and I'm like I'm not reaching for things to keep like pushing me through the rest of the day. So it's showing on me different
Yeah.
than somebody next to me, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. But we all are. And I feel that balance really deeply. And I can be full time, quote unquote, full time, where you pack in clients back to back to back to back. But then that's at a detriment to my health because it's a
Yeah.
lot to push, push, push. And then you and I
Yeah.
are both moms. So it's not like we get to go home and collapse on the couch and do whatever we need. We then check out of work and we're mom and we have family and we have
Yeah.
personal life and and it doesn't stop. And there is that. So if you discover that amazing balance to do it throughout the day, I love that you have the 312, so you have 4 off. But there
Yeah.
is a crazy expectation and trying to balance that overwhelm, because it is a lot to be in that helper healer profession where we are
Yeah.
struggling with other people's stress and trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately, like, I'm just not going to be I'm not going to like retire from the place I'm, I'm working at, you know, but I think that even just that whole like waiting until the end of the day and then being like, oh, now I can rest. Like, that doesn't feel right. Like, that might be what I'm doing, but that doesn't feel helpful for me. That doesn't feel like the answer. Yeah. That doesn't feel like the answer to me, you know, and then having, some kind of I try to have like my little rituals that I do when I go home so I can decompress and but it can be hard to have like this energy from the day and part of me wanting to rest and then part of me that's like, oh, there's this unprocessed stuff that's going on right now. I heard myself falling asleep last night and I started like moaning in my sleep because I could feel like it was so challenging to start letting that energy come out of me. It's hard to let, and when you haven't learned how to do it, I guess that's some of what you helped me with before. It's similar with like the chronic pain, like not under it's like a processing issue, like not understanding how to process energy or emotions, you know, or emotions as energy.
Yeah.
And we learn like when we're little, like we we don't learn that because it's chronically getting overridden and
Yeah.
our culture doesn't have these like regular like ceremonies or rituals that help us like process this stuff that's been going on either individually or collectively, just like, oh, it's the full moon, like, you know, even if it's very different when somebody's growing up in like in a culture that that recognizes that kind of thing and helps process it. So we're not understanding that. Our bodies aren't understanding that. And we're walking around with like years of unprocessed energy inside of us. So once, like, I feel like I'm still learning how to do it, but there's definitely, like, I understand it and my body understands it a lot more than a
Yeah.
year, 2 years ago,
Yeah.
4 years ago. Um, and I could feel it last night as like this stuff was coming out, but it's still, I'm like, oh, this is hard to relax and let this stress come out of my body. It's hard to do when we're living in this way that we have to like keep pushing through. And that's when I was like, this is silly for me to be waiting like all day for this to come out. There's got to be a way for me to do this. Like, of course, if I have my day off, like that's easy. That's
Mhm.
easier.
Right.
That's easier for me all day to find ways to like de-stress. But it's like, how do I do that in the middle of my day when I have stuff going on, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I shifted to my own private practice, so I had more control over my schedule, and gave
Yeah.
myself 15-minute buffers between clients, which meant I served less clients, but I had 15 minutes to go walk around the block if I needed to be able to have some space to process. Making sure I went out in nature. Like my lunch break, I went out. I did not just sit inside doing notes because that's how I had traditionally been
Yeah.
trained to do
Yeah.
because I needed that space. And then, having my own little rituals where I did kind of clear the energy after each client so that I didn't have it carried throughout the day because I felt it. And when I had that back to back to back to back client, and I'm scrambling at lunch to do all my notes because if I don't, then I don't get them done. And then I would
Yeah.
walk out and I was so jangled, but then I had to rush to get home and pick up kids from daycare. And I never gave myself space. And then, I finally get everybody to sleep. And I'm sitting there 10 o'clock at night going, oh my gosh, I'm wired. My husband goes to sleep,
Yeah.
kids are asleep, and I'm wired here. I can't go down. And then it just takes me so long. And I timed it where at that point in my life, it would take me an hour and a half after everyone else was asleep to downshift enough that I could go to sleep. And so then
Yeah.
we become super, strict with bedtime because I'm now like adding an hour and a half off of everybody else's bedtime. My kids have to go to sleep at like 6 o'clock at night. Not really, but that's,
Yeah.
feeling like, so I can be functional. Like you all have to be out because there's that energy. I hit a point where I can't do this anymore. I have to shift. I have to change. I have to be healthier in me and around those boundaries. But it's hard. It is really hard. And especially when we're here to serve. And, I got in a space of like, okay, this is what I do. I'm not loving it anymore, but what else do I do? This is what training is. But it was more just because I wasn't really recognizing the overwhelm and I wasn't
Yeah.
giving myself space than actually not liking the work. Once I gave myself some
Yeah.
space and did more healing, then I didn't have that push to take on more and more and more. I could be okay with the space and I could be okay with silence. I wasn't in my 30s till I realized that you don't have to have something always in your head. Like if there wasn't conversation in my head, there was music in my head. There was something that I was always like, silence wasn't a thing. And then in my 30s, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can have silence. There's not a whole line of thought going on in here. It takes a lot of shifts and a lot of awareness.
Yeah. I still don't think I have silence in there. There's always somebody. Yeah.
I notice it upticks when I'm stressed. It's like starts upticking and I can come back. But it works. And I worked very hard on a silence practice, but it took time and sitting there. And I remember I can't remember if you shared it on when we were recording or before, as you're trying to even settle, like there's so much going on in your head and it's just a con.
Yeah.
I feel that very big. Yes.
Yeah. I like that about the IFS because it acknowledges that and then helps you work with those parts, right? Because they're giving you information about something. Like
Yes.
something's going on, and if you just tell them to shut up, they're gonna come back in some way or another. You're gonna get a headache later, your stomach's gonna
Mhm.
hurt, like something's gonna happen. So there's one meditation called the path, and it like goes through like a visualization, like you're walking on the path and you're acknowledging these parts of yourself, and you're asking them like, okay, can you go wait at the bottom of the path? And if they can't, you're like, okay, well, what are you scared of? Why can't you do it? So it's like you're learning how to get to that spot of being in that self energy and not having the parts talk to you and not have, but it's happening in this like really gentle way. And if it doesn't, and it's also not expected to happen. Like,
Hate.
the first year that you're doing the meditation, I don't know how long, but definitely not the first time, but it's very gentle in that way to teach yourself how to acknowledge those aspects of yourself and what's going on with them. And I remember this is why I was like, are you familiar with IFS? Because I read something recently that was like, well, the your protectors, so those parts of yourself that are, or like your managers, right? Those are the ones that are driving you to achieve, to organize your stuff, to write all your lists that usually that are talking, you got to do this, you got to do that. They don't they don't actually get anything done. They're not the ones that actually that do anything. So the more so I feel like that's kind of some of what happened to me is that those managers are more relaxed now and they're not pushing to do all this stuff. So other things are happening. That's why I have more people calling me. That's why I have more clients outside of my other job. And that's why I used to get real stressed, like I don't want to be doing this. This is too stressful. It's too much time away from home. And then I would get really upset because I was like, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to get out of this. But
Yes. Exact same place. Uh-huh.
yeah. But those are all like the managers like trying to get out of it. But the more that they relax, then the more either options I have or my more relaxed energy makes people want to be around me more. Yeah. So then things start to shift that way.
I love that. I love how you reframe things. It's such
Yep.
an incredible gift to be able to take these big, huge concepts and then really reframe them in usable, tangible ways for people. It's such a cool gift.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, that's one of the things. Like I don't always people will say that to me, like that it makes sense. So, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I think maybe this kind of work, it just started to click with me after having so many issues, so much emotional and nervous system like dysregulation and and anxiety and depression and really like that up and down. Like I didn't think it would ever stop. I just thought that that's just the way I was. I really thought that. It was felt really terrible. Um, but I guess when you've been in those situations and then you've had to like get and then getting out of them, I guess that's what I guess that those are some of the gifts that I got. Is that like that became my understanding. Like those are my moments that I've been like, oh wait, this makes sense. Like this makes sense.
Yeah.
This makes sense. And I'm on the right path because this is making sense to me.
Uh-huh. I love that affirmation. This is making sense. I'm on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share or chat about before we are done? This has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share or chat about or talk about?
Thank you. Um, I guess I feel like I had some pretty serious trauma as a teenager and didn't get, and and had that like just get over it kind of thing, like and even like coming with like the best intentions, like my family wanted me to get over it, like this stuff happened, and it's like my mom's trying to get me in school and she's trying to get me a car, and it's like she just wants it like to like let me get on with my life, but you can't, like you really can't, right?
Yeah.
Like it catches up in one way, or even if some people, they just keep going through with it. Some people end up with like, they have heart problems, they have blood pressure pops, something when they're a little bit chronic pain, and the Western medical system, there people are like, you can find it, and you can find Western doctors acknowledge this. You could find it in research, but it's not like it's not mainstream at all. But like you can find things that will back up like the adverse childhood experiences, or you can see this relationship between nervous system overwhelm, nervous system dysregulation, having like even we have like intergenerational trauma. Like there are things in Western science that back it up, but it's just not presented out there. People are not like thinking about it this way. Um, so like I was in it, going through it, feeling like I was crazy, and there is a way out of it. Like you don't have, even with like the things like chronic pain, like I don't feel like I don't identify as having chronic pain. Whereas like 4 years ago, like for sure, I was like, what is going on? Since I was like 14 or 15 years old, like I had pain up until like my 40s, like chronic pain. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen when I'm eating? I'm like, this is horrible that every single day something hurts on me. And I don't feel that way anymore. So I guess that's the thing, is that like, and same with like the emotional dysregulation and like the ups and downs. Like it does not happen overnight. It's definitely something that happens slow. And but at some point I started looking back and I was like, oh wow, I don't do that anymore. Like I don't get as upset anymore as I
Yeah.
used to. I don't feel so horrible about, I don't go into like this dark well of despair when I start to feel sad anymore. Um, so there is like there is a way out. Like there really is, even if you feel really, really horrible right now,
Mhm.
or feel like you have a lot of stuff stacked against you. Yeah.
There is a way out. I love that. And I love the shift in kind of that, in that there is hope. If you are in a really deep spot, there is hope. There is a way out. And I think that's such a message a lot of us need to hear. And we're not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah. And I know it doesn't feel that way. I absolutely know it does not feel that way. But when you find somebody else that's like been through what you've been through, when you start, and it might be somebody that you don't expect because like they look so different now or
Yeah.
whatever, but you do have to find that person or find that like modality and keep going with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt crazy. I was like, I need to be, after I had a kid and things like really started to come up. Like again, like I thought I was just gonna like get over it. I was just gonna be like a better parent. And these things are coming up, and I'm like, oh my God, like I feel angry right now at like a 3-year-old. I'm like,
Ah,
or I would feel like nothing. It's like
mhm.
Christmas and I don't feel anything. I'm like, this is stuff that I thought that I would just be able to get over. And so like having to um find some way to work with that. And I was like, I'm gonna have to put myself in a mental institution. And I was like, I can't, I really, really felt that way. But I was like, I have a kid, I can't go and do that. What am I expecting to get out of going into a mental institution? I was like, well, what I would be looking for is this like 24-hour deep dive into like what is going on with me. So I was like, I can't institutionalize myself in a hospital. I'll institutionalize myself in school, right? It is another institution. So that's seriously what I did. So I was like, I went to school and studied all the things that they would present to you. I feel like I work in a mental health institution now. I feel like I got a better education going to school, right? And trying to understand like how the brain works, my brain works, physiology works, and then going through the somatic experiencing training and doing that at the same time as school. So I'm learning about sensory and perception. I'm learning about bottom up processing, and then I'm going to the SE training, and then I'm experiencing. I'm doing it. I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like I'm not just like cognitively. I'm getting top down and bottom up processing at the same time, and then continuing to go through there. And like with money and stuff, like this is enough. Like I got a lot of grants for things. I got scholarships for things. Like I wrote to people. I did fundraisers. Like people get, it's expensive, right, to go to this stuff. But I mean, I did find ways to be able to do it. I mean, I put things on credit cards, but like doing fundraisers, getting grants and scholarships, and like finding ways to help me out. And then working in, I've been working at the eating disorder clinic for 2 years, and then they helped me pay for my internal family systems training.
Wow.
But there's ways, and people want to support you. That's what helped me. Somebody told me that. They said people want to support you, people want to help you, and then that made it easier for me to ask for help.
Yeah.
To be able to pay for the things that I was doing.
You're such inspiration. I'm so lucky to know you. I want to thank you so much for doing this interview with me. This has been such a powerful conversation, and I am so excited for people to hear it. If anyone would love to get in touch with you, what is the best way to connect with you?
My webpage is thekatiehedges.com, and it has my email on it. My email is hedgehogkatie, Katie, @hotmail.com.
Beautiful. And I will link all that down in the show notes so it's easy access. Thank you. Thank you for taking this time. I so appreciate it.
Thank you.
And because I think it is so important as adults for us to hear affirmations about ourselves. You are smart and creative and talented and fun and energetic and funny and an incredible human being. And I am so thankful that you are part of my life. I love you and I like you. And I wish you all the happiness today. We'll talk to you on the next podcast. Hey, before you go, just a little bit of legal. This podcast is designed for educational purposes only. It is not to replace any expert advice from your doctors, therapists, coaches, or any other professional that you would work with. It's just a chat with a friend, me, where we get curious about ideas, thoughts, and things that are going on in our lives. And as we're talking about friends, if you know someone who would benefit from the conversation today, please share, because I think the more that we open up these conversations, the more benefit we all get. So until next time, give yourself a big hug from me and stay curious, because that's the fun in this world.